Hi, everyone. Welcome to my Real Estate Investors Hangout. I do this every Thursday night. It is usually at 6 p.m. And I just started some new software. So because I've got the new software going, it's taken a lot longer to get ready. So hopefully that'll even out in the next few weeks. But I decided to start this one later after 8 because there were some challenges getting it set up and ready to go. So it's still broadcast on Google. And so if you're watching it on Google, you'll see it there. But you do have to register for every single Hangout that we do in this particular new software. So apologize for that. You'll still get the regular email reminders, but you do have to put your email in and register for each one. So you'll be getting a unique link. It's going to give us some other options for chatting. So I'll be able to see people's questions as they come in, because I'll know what your email is, and it'll identify each person who's watching the webinar. So welcome to the Hangout. I'm glad you're here. Tonight I'm going to do a market update. And while this is going to focus on California, it does apply to other parts of the country. Those are just the charts that I'm happen to be using. I will go into other parts of the country on other future Hangouts. But right now I'm going to do a market update and kind of get you ready for the big buying and selling season in the summer. So I want to make sure everyone's ready for that. So after the market update, I'm going to show you how you can start finding really good leads in this particular market and how you can use that to an advantage in your business. So that's how we're going to get started. And it's late at night. It's 9:15. So I invite everyone to, if you want to, have a glass of wine while we're working here. And if it's in the morning when you watch the replay, I apologize, but don't start drinking then. Okay. So welcome everyone, and I'm glad you're here. I just want to let's get my company name and everything down there. Well, I guess it's not going to get set up for tonight. All right. What I'm going to do is get started with some screen share, and we'll talk about the market update. First, what I want to do is tell you about a couple of new places on my website. I recently did, everything over there. So I'm going to screen share for you and show you two places where you can get some free training from my website. Okay, hold on one sec. We'll be there in a second. All right, that's different than I'm used to. It usually has a separate window. All right, let me try this again. Do the screen share. Yep, new technology. It's just slightly different each time. All right, let me switch so you can see something better than that. All right, so this is the registration page. When you go and click on the new registration page to join the webinar, you'll get like a little pop-up, and then you can register for the webinar. So that's our new registration page. What's the next page I want to show you? I want to show you the ebook, if I can get to that. I shut down quite a few pages here before I started, so let me get the ebook for you. Okay, so here's a page I'm going to be sending to you later in the webinar. When you go to this page on wisewealthuniversity.com/market more deals training. Okay, so this link is not live right now, but it will be probably in April, in the middle of April. And in this training, I'm going to show people how to get more deals and walk you through some of the details of how to use a direct mail campaign. So just be aware, in April, we're going to start that training. So let me go back to what we're going to talk about tonight. Make sure it's all right, let's get started with our market update for the beginning. So even though this does go over what's going on in California, I want to make sure that you know that this is happening across the country. So first thing I'm going to talk about is the number of distressed property sales versus non-distressed property sales. Now, distressed property sales are the kinds that we want as real estate investors. So I just want you to realize that, starting in 2013 and going through 2014, the number of distressed property sales has gone way down. Those are in red. At the peak of the foreclosure process in 2009 and 10, and we were even flipping houses in 2011, in Southern California, there were quite a few properties to pick from. Right now, it's very difficult to find them. Sales volume is looks like under 5,000. And this is across California. They've gone down from a year ago by 17%. And the number of non-distressed property sales is nice and constant there. So let's go to the next chart. Okay, this is year over year home sales. So in the home sales section, you're going to compare the distressed property sales, again, down 17%, versus non-distressed sales. It's gone up year over year by 2%. So that's from February 2014 until February 2015. And the worst distressed property sales were back in 2009. That was right after all the foreclosures hit us. And you can see at the peak of the market, back in 2006, the number of distressed property sales were very low. And I'm going to tell you a little bit later what causes the number of distressed sales in a normal type market. There's 5 things that cause those sales. So I want you to know what they are and know that you can still find deals, because those 5 things I'm going to talk about are always present in every single market. So hold on, and we'll get to that in a little bit. All right, so the next thing is median price sales versus the sales volume. So you can see in California that the median price sales has gone up quite a bit. Median price back in 2012 was around 200,000. This is for distressed properties, and now it's up in the 250 range, just making it more difficult to do some deals. The non-distressed properties have gone up as well, so you can sell those. And of course, the black line is the median. So non-distressed property sales have gone up, faster than distressed property sales. And then down here you see that's the price, and here you see the volume. So you can see over time since 2012, when we had probably 18,000 properties for sale that were distressed, now we're down maybe around 3,500 properties for sale that are distressed properties. And all the data here come from Foreclosure Radar, and they summarize this type of data once a month and put out a report. The number of cash sales. So now we're kind of getting into where we can piece apart what happens with a real estate investor. So the number of cash sales, it kind of indicates where the investors are. So back in 2007, not that many cash sales. And as we went into 2008 and 9, people were buying properties with cash. Year over year, from February 2014 to February 2015, the number of cash sales has gone down about 11% altogether. So this is the cash sales as a percent of total California sales. So it's gone down and a percentage wise. And then the blue bars indicate the number of properties, and the one over on the right hand side, that's the percentage that are cash. Now this is a chart of the sales volume for flip sales. Flip sales are properties that are resold within the first 6 months that they're purchased. So they're purchased and then resold before 6 months is over. Year over year, from February 2014 to February 2015, that percentage has gone down 32%. So that's a really big drop in the number of houses that are being flipped. And I'm going to have you compare this probably with the next chart I show you. There was a lot of flipping going on in 2011 as well, but the flip sales are really the number. It really peaked in 2013 because there were more people selling them immediately. Sometimes investors will buy these things and hold on to them and not flip them. If they see a good jump up in price, which is what happened in 2013, then they'll start flipping more and holding less. So you can compare that with the two charts coming up. Let me get a drink here. The two charts coming up talk about the total market purchases and sales by LLCs or limited partners. And that indicates the number of companies that are buying and selling properties. And this can be anywhere from the small investor who has an LLC up to large hedge funds. So what we're looking at here is any corporate purchases. Usually if someone's just, doing a quick rehab and they're starting out, they don't even have an LLC to start with. So they do it in a trust or in their own name. So you can see here the peak market purchases in 2012 and 13. At this point, a lot of people were holding because the chart up above tells you about flipping, and this chart below tells you that some people were holding the properties at that time. Also, the number of market purchases has gone down 10%, but the flipping has gone down by 32% year over year. And if we look down in this chart, it's a little bit more even. These were market sales, and up here are purchases. So the purchases really peaked here, but the sales didn't peak. So it looks like people were purchasing sort of at the end, hoping to keep some rentals and not really selling them off, which is why there wasn't quite as much flipping during that time. So the market sales have gone down year over year. For the last year, gone down by 25%. And there is a brief drop here of month-to-month sales. Sometimes that's just seasonal fluctuation, as you can see. Seems to happen in February quite often, just due to weather. Okay, trustee sales. Trustee sale purchases by corporations have gone down significantly by the percentage of total sales to a third party at the trustee. And these are the number of properties purchased by LLCs. And these are percentages. So the trustee sale purchases by corporations and LLCs and limited partnerships have gone way down below 10%. And the percentage of trustee sales to third parties is still pretty consistent here, up in the 45 to 50%. So what happens if they're not sold to third parties is they're taken back by the bank. So as prices get higher, the bank takes them back more often than an investor will buy them. So since 2009 is really when you had a lot of people coming into the market and starting to purchase properties at the trustee sale. So the sales are way down here at this point. The investors are not going to the trustee sales. Foreclosure notices. Okay. Foreclosure notices have gone down a little bit. Notices of trustee sale has gone down. Notices of default, notices of the sale, and also the actual sales at the foreclosure. So the number of sales is really down to about 2,000 a month. It's also gone down month over month, but you see that the notice of the trustee sale, there's a lot more notices than there are foreclosures. So some people are able, probably about half of them, are able to recover the property and it doesn't go to foreclosure. That might be the last graph. No, there's another one here for us. So these are kind of foreclosure inventories, the number of properties that are in pre-foreclosure, meaning they're over 90 days late, they've gotten a notice of default. Those have gone down 17% in the last year. That's the green line. The number that's owned by the banks has gone down 7.5% in the last year. And the ones scheduled for sale have gone down in the last year. From here, from February 2014 down to February 2015, they have gone down by 19%. So there aren't as many foreclosures on the market. And if you remember back up at the top here, there also aren't as many distressed properties on the market. So take a look at those two numbers. What does that say for you as a real estate investor? If you've been having trouble finding properties to work on, here's your answers right here. This is happening across the country. And so you can't kind of look at foreclosures as the way to get your properties. They're not going to be that easy. The REOs aren't out there. You can't get them at the trustee sale. You're going to have to start doing a lot more work in the coming months and years to actually find the deals that you want. All right, so let's move into how do we find those deals. So I'm going to talk to you about the 5 Ds in real estate. And the 5 Ds are the reasons that people have to get rid of the house. The 5 Ds contribute to this small amount of distressed properties that occur constantly across the market. So they're always present. They're a part of life. And that's what causes the baseline number of distressed properties. And we're moving into that phase now where we're just at the baseline. So the 5 Ds start with death, a death in the family, a death of a spouse, a death of a child. It causes upheaval in the family. Disease is the next one. Someone's ill and you're using all your resources to take care of that person. So death, number 1. Disease, number 2. Drugs, number 3. That comes into play in that you might get the house, but it also comes into play. Sometimes you just are never going to get a hold of that house. We were in escrow for a house last fall up in Northern California, and it was supposed to be a short sale, but the guy who lives there is doing drugs and just never really contributed to getting the short sale taken care of. He wasn't going to, take care of his back child support. He wasn't going to mail in anything and take care of it. And so eventually we pulled out of that because we wanted to put our money to work in another property, and we just couldn't wait for that thing to happen. I'm sure he's still living in the house until the bank decides to make it an REO and foreclose and not do it. We were under contract as a short sale. So number 4 is divorce. That also causes upheaval in the family, it affects your finances, and that is the fourth D, divorce. And the fifth one is denial. So sometimes people get in these situations or they lose their job and they're in denial that someone's going to take their house. They still believe it's theirs, even though they owe the bank a lot of money. So the 5 Ds are divorce, disease, drugs, and denial. Death, disease, drugs, divorce, and denial. That's what causes this small number of distressed properties that will always be there as a baseline. So even at the peak of the market, there was always a small number of distressed properties. Sometimes the people having those issues have tenants, and the tenants cause the property to be distressed, but they don't have any money to fix it up. So those are your distressed properties. So how do you fix this? How do you change your situation? I mean, you're still going to be a real estate investor. How are you going to find these properties? So there's really, two good ways. I mean, in certain parts of the country, you can use bandit signs, and you do get some deals from that. But consistently, you're either going to rely on some online marketing, and sometimes people that are in these distressed situations are not, going online that much, or you're going to do mailers. They definitely look at their mail because they're getting notices and they are getting bills. So let's look at how you can set up and do a mailer. Now, one thing that I'm just going to go back to live screen for a sec. All right. So one thing that you can do is do a mailer to different types of people. Okay, so one thing is absentee owners. So these are people who have a tenant in place, they're tired, someone died, there's disease, there's job loss, there's divorce, or there's a breakup of their partnership, and they just can't handle these properties where the tenants are moving out. So you can look at absentee landlords. The other one you can look at is people who have a lot of equity or who've owned their house for a really long time, and it tends to mean they're older and they're willing to either sell it and they have plenty of equity, or they're willing to do some owner financing. So those are two really good ways to look for them. Now, if you want to start out for free, get a relationship with your title company. Once you have that relationship, you can look up properties and mail to them. And I will do that, in a future training. So this is just kind of a look-see to see how you can do it. So I'm going to use a commercial service just because it's a little bit faster and you can see more data when you use the commercial service. So you can either sign up for a commercial service or use your title company. So you have to talk to your title company and tell them that when you do close on a property, you would use them for title insurance and escrow. And that's how you get an account. You tell them you want a farm account where you're going to be sending out, some letters to your prospects. So let me do the screen share again, and I will share with you a search that I've done. Let me do the screen share. It's just a different technology, so it's a little hard to get started on it. All right, now hopefully now you can see that. I used to be able to switch back and forth to the Google Hangout so I could actually see what you were looking at, and that doesn't work as well on this new system. So I can probably jump over to Facebook and see if it shows up. Let me just check that. All right, I'm just going to check. I do have an app on my Facebook page. It's called Wise Wealth University. So if you want to go to that site, you definitely can, and you can see all the education that we have on the Wise Wealth University Facebook page. And we also have education on, I have a page on Google Plus, and that's also called Wise Wealth University. So you can go there. And then my website is wisewealthuniversity.com. You can go there as well and get a lot of free training. So let me go to the property search, and I'll run through this with you. This is a quick search I did. And what I did was I started with a property that we had bought and sold last summer up in Sacramento. And that property is up in the corner here. So I'm going to show you the search, the details of the property. And then I went back and I just used the zip code to find other properties in the same area. Seems to be taking a while to load. All right, well, that would give you all the details of that particular property. Let me go back to the search. Didn't want to bring those up. Okay, so let me go into the search, and I put in the zip code, and the zip code matches with this property that we flipped last summer. It was a 4-bedroom, single-family property, and we sold it for, I think, $220,000, and they got a loan for $216,000. So they really didn't have to put much down. All right, so I used that zip code. I did a search because we're looking for more properties in the area. Now, under search options, location is just the zip code. I didn't do much about that. Property details. I look for at least 2 bedrooms from 900 square feet up to 1,800 square feet. Those are good parameters to look at. You don't want anything much smaller, and anything much bigger, you're not going to make money on a flip. I'm looking for single families as well as multi-units, like a duplex on a particular property. Right now, the ownership, so I selected these. Non-owner occupied. I do not want the same mailing address. So I want the mailing address to be different from the property. And I do not want them to live in the same county, but they could live in the same state. So I don't want them to live super close by, but if they live far enough away, I can also change that and say not in the same state. So completely out of state, and that would limit my search. So if you don't want to send out too many letters in the beginning, just definitely change this to out of state. Value and equity. So I'm looking for 2 things here. So I looked for absentee owners and also ones that owned 50 to 100% of the property. So that would be, all cash owners, or they have a loan, but it's not too high. You could also go for people that have 100%. That have 0% equity, which means they're underwater and they're going to be kind of distressed. So you might want to look at them as well. You can check off foreclosure and foreclosure, market transfers, like it was flipped, or if it's actually listed, and kind of what the loans are. So, I did my search. It has the little radar blip going, and I ended up with 401 properties in the area, and you can see them all bunched here. I can, zoom in. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the rentals are in that area. They're rentals, and they don't live in the same county, okay? But this is all in a zip code around, the property that I was interested in. So you're pretty well spaced out. All right. So those are absentee owners who have a certain amount of at least 50% equity in the property. So you can see the equity right here. So I can search and reset any of these parameters. I can reset the purchase date here. I'm going to reset it. Well, the reason there's nothing there, it means they bought it before anything, was recorded in the database. You'll notice a lot of the owners are trusts. So the property's owned in a trust. And as we scroll down, eventually you're going to see the beginning purchase date of when they were recorded, 1978, 1988. The databases just don't go back that long. So the people above that have owned the house for a long time. Look at the percentage of equity, okay, in those properties. So they've owned it longer than everyone else. And then you can get down here. These people have owned it for a long, long time. So, there's some good points about targeting these people because they've owned the property for a really long time. They didn't buy it for much. They may have not refinanced it ever. And look at my square footages now. I'll just flip it up here. So 900 square feet, that's kind of where I started. And if you go down, I go up to 1,700 square feet, 1,800 square feet. So those are properties that make good flips and rentals. Those are starter homes. That's where you want to start. So as the, square footage goes up higher, that's when you start to see 3 and 4. That's when you start to see 4 bedrooms as opposed to 3. Because I started with, I would have accepted 2 bedrooms because we can always add on to those properties. So I started with some that have just 2 bedrooms. So it's really easy to sort these out. So what you want to do is find these types of properties. These are the single families. If I just want to look at multi-units, those are all the multi-units. And they'll tell me the number of bedrooms and bathrooms. They often don't tell me the number of units. So, I could add another field to that. You can actually select how many units that you want. So, and if, fool around with this, you can go to Property Radar and you can get a 3-day free trial. I will put a link underneath the replay of this event, so you could go right there and try the free day trial if you want. And the good part is if I click on any of these, it gives me the details without even opening another window. So 5 bedroom, okay, so it shows me the units. So that one, Hillsdale has 2 units. 2 units. Just wondering how many. Mostly 2 units. You know why? Because I asked for 2 bedrooms. People who live in apartments stay longer the bigger they are. So the studios have a higher turnover than the 2 bedrooms. So I was requesting only 2 bedrooms, even for the multi-units. So these are going to turn out to be all duplexes, I'm thinking. All right, so they're 2-bedroom duplexes. So those are also good targets. So what you do when you find this type of search is you can go ahead and export the entire list and start sending out letters to the list. I know that, we'll go further into that. Like I said, I do have a site where I'm going to teach you all about that, and you're going to be able to sign up for that in April. This button isn't active yet at the moment. So when you do that, we'll get into some more detail about what mailers to send, but I kind of wanted to get you started. You can also mail directly from here or download the thing. You can save it and export that. So let me try another zip code. I'll just do one that, I really know exactly what the properties look like, and I'll see what we can do on search options here. All right, so let's start up a whole new search as if we were starting from the beginning. We have the zip code in there. Let's go into the property details. I'm doing single and multi-families. There aren't that many. And I do have 2 bedrooms, 900 to 1,800 square feet. And I wanted to have no pool. It's really good to not have a pool because it's just a lot more work. I want non-owner occupied. I do not want the same mailing address. I do not want them to live in the same county. They could live in the same state, but I'm going to click no here and just show you how narrow that search is once you get out-of-state owners. Sorry, I'm taking sips to keep my voice going while we're working here. All right, so what kind of value? I'm going to kind of take this out because at this point in the zip code that I'm looking at, it doesn't really matter because I just limited my search by saying out-of-state owners. So I kind of know out-of-state owners, I'm not going to have as many. A lot of people keep the house, the first house they had, they move into a second house and they live right in the same town. And they don't have as much distress because they're close by. Not going to click off on any foreclosures. And I'm not going to, see if any are definitely on the market because I have a feeling it's going to be a small search. So let's set up the search and see what happens. And there, I was right. Okay, so there's 87 properties and no multi-units. So in this particular thing, and remember I said out-of-state owners, and I didn't really care how much equity they had. Let's sort by purchase date, see how far. Now, in every single county, they started recording. Now, this one says 1988. So that's when you start seeing the purchase date, and it was automatically entered into databases. So those are the owners of these 87 properties in this particular zip code. They have a variety of equity, and I think what I did was I sorted by purchase date. Yeah. So it goes all the way up to, this must be an REO. I kind of know that area because there's Fannie Mae. And then the other thing to do is you can sort by the owner and see how many people own more than one house. And you'd be able to look down. I think I saw one. Okay, there's two people. There's one person that owns two properties. There's a Fannie Mae property. Sometimes you see a large number of properties owned by out-of-state owners. Scroll down. All right, this gal here owns two properties, and she lives out of state. She purchased them recently, so it was definitely intentional, not something that she lived in and then moved into later. So these people are going to have a good potential to. What I would do is sort by purchase date and mail to the people who've held the properties for a long time. Say go back 10 years, start here, and just go back and mail to the people that owned the property a long time ago. Let's start with, highlight that one there, and it'll show you the loans. And this one, they have loans of $290,000, and it's estimated to be worth $500,000. And they bought it in 2003. So you can go back that far. You want to go back further, say 93. Let's go back 10 more years. They bought it for 200. Well, the loans are 200, and it's estimated at 411,000. So you can go back and go back to the point where people, maybe don't even have a loan. You can look at each one and decide if you want to mail to that one. So these are the kind of owners that I would do either a yellow letter to, or you can do a bill type letter. And I'm going to go over with you in the training in April to, the different kinds of letters you can send and how exactly to send them. And if you do my upgraded training, you would be getting, the letters along with it. So let's do one quick search on the search options. What I'm going to do is change this just for a minute, and we're going to go to not owner occupied. In other words, it's any. So yes, owner occupied. Same mailing address, yes. So I'm going to look for people now who have a lot of equity and who, let's go up to the equity. I'm just going to go for 100%. Okay. Let's go to more. Transfer date. Okay, that's usually set for foreclosures. So I'm going to go way back here. You can pick any date you want. I'm going to go back before 2000. So they have no equity and they've owned it for a long time. So they've been in the house. Let's go back to 1995. They've been in the house 20 years. What's the chance that these people might have one of the 5 Ds, death, disease, drugs, divorce, or denial, and need to move out of their property? To me, 10 years isn't enough. I want them to be in there a long time. So there's some distress, and they also need to do some repairs. So you can really drill down on what you need to do to get the right kind of property. Target your mailing, and you're not paying as much for the mailing. So I'm going to do people who've owned it. There we go. No. Let's go up a little bit. Ah, I didn't get the date range. Sorry. I can just type it in. Let's type in the date range. 1995. $1980. Let's do 80 to 95. I hope this is, really helpful to you, because it's giving you a chance to figure out how you can target very, very specific things. Now, they're not actively listed. That really doesn't matter to me. I would say, open loans. I'm not looking to target that. So let's do our search and see what happens. All right. So it narrowed it down. We've got people who've owned their house since before 1995. There's really only 4 of them on the list. So those are kind of free and clears. We can now change the search option. And let's go to 2005. Right, and we'll get a lot more in there. All right, now we have 17 properties that we can mail to. These are the kind of things where you could door knock these. These properties, there's not that many of them. Okay. City of Poway owns that one, so I'm not going to worry about that. Anyway, the telephone company owns that property. This redevelopment. So they've owned the property for a long, long time. They could be even vacant lots. So remember, these are all free and clear. If I change and I cancel out the transfer date, and I don't care. Now I'm just looking at the number who have 100% equity. I haven't changed in there. They're owner occupied, free and clear properties. Let's see how many we get. All right, 272. This is a really good number of people to mail to. Okay, they're owner occupied. You can see the whole thing. Yes, yes, yes. Purchase date starting in 1980 was the first one that's actually recorded, and then what they bought it for. So you can go down through here, and I would really just take these 272 people, and in fact, we'll probably start this next week, and just mail to the free and clears. Mail them a nice letter asking if they want to sell their property. So you have kind of 2 different targets. You mail to the People who have 100% equity, free and clear, they're easier to negotiate with, but you don't know if they have any distress in their life. Then there's the absentee landlords. They have a lot of distress just from the fact that they are landlords and they have, a lot of things going on with the property. So those are the two things that you can do to target. And I'll talk more in April when we do the more extensive training about how to do the mailings, what the mailings should look like, what kind of letters you should send, and things like that. So I look forward to talking to you more about that in our April training. I'm going to stop the screen share tonight, and let me just check. I think I covered everything that we wanted to do. Let me just see if I can get you over to the ebook. I wanted to show you where the ebook is. The ebook helps you learn how to find private lenders to help you in your investing. So I'm going to find that for you. Here we go. All right. If you would like to go over to this page, it's called wisewealthuniversity.com/PV for private, PV lending. And in this page, you can then put in your name and email address. You get a free ebook, and you'll get a 10-day e-course where I send you emails every 2 or 3 days to help you. You've already read the book, but to help you utilize the book and find your own private lenders. So that's one of the ways that you can then get started with your property investing. So I want to thank everyone for coming on tonight. And let me stop the screen share. I'm so glad you were able to join me. And if you're watching the replay, please go ahead and check out some of the resources that I showed you. And look below the replay, and I'll post some links so that you can go directly to those links and find the web pages that I was showing you tonight. And I look forward to you. Oh, we have some great speakers coming up. I forgot to tell you. I have quite a few lined up in the next month where we're going to be speaking to other investors and that have been successful in various markets. And they're going to tell us their secrets on how they succeeded in their market. And they were able to either flip a lot of properties, keep a lot of them as rentals, whatever their success story is, we're going to dig down to the bottom of that success story. So I want you to join me for those interviews. And it's every Thursday night. We will be back on our schedule of 6 o'clock instead of 8. And I'll have all this technology ironed out for you. And I look forward to seeing you. And I hope to hear from you in the chat roll. We didn't get the chat roll to work tonight, but it will be up on the next Hangout. I promise you, I'm going to practice with that and make sure that Google doesn't give me any problems with everything that I had set up. So anyway, thank you, everyone. Go enjoy a relaxing wine and see if you can relax for the evening. I'm glad you were able to watch the show. Thank you so much. And I will see you next Thursday. And hopefully my voice will have been recovered by then.